Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. Here's what's making news right now.
The American travelers see it as a hassle. They're just avoiding coming over. They're staying in their own backyard instead of crossing over here and spending their dollars with our border businesses.
And I don't know if Windsor, or actually, I don't believe the hospital systems where abortions are done in Canada are going to be able to handle a surge.
Thanks for joining us. News that the much criticized ArriveCan app is likely here to stay has some crying foul. Local tourism and hospitality operators are upset the Canadian government could keep the app for use other than for COVID screening. That news came to light yesterday during a visit by the Public Safety Minister in Windsor. As Dale Molnar reports, there's concern continued use of the app could especially hurt border cities.
The Windsor-Detroit Tunnel duty-free shop should be bustling with activity right now, but today, empty. The manager says border measures like the ArriveCan app have cost them 40 to 60% of their business. Duty-free shops want the app axed at land borders.
Our business couldn't be more decimated, and we will never move forward if this app is not completely eliminated.
ArriveCan was introduced to make sure travelers were vaccinated. Yesterday, Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino indicated the government intends to keep the app for other purposes. The president of the Tourism Industry Association says she has heard from the Transport Minister and a CBSA officer that the CBSA intends to modify it so travelers can declare the goods they buy in the States with the app.
Whether or not that's going to be used at the land border or not, we're not clear on that at this point. But anything that slows down the movement of people back and forth across the Canada-U.S. land border is not going to be helpful.
A Windsor concert promoter and owner of hospitality businesses believes the government also wants to eliminate CBSA jobs with the app and says the app deters day trippers from coming over.
The person who's sitting in Detroit or Ann Arbor, or the group of friends that's hanging out at 6 o'clock at a barbecue and says, hey, let's drive to Windsor. We're continuing to make it more and more difficult for those same-day travelers to get here.
Even though Mendicino says he is listening to Border Mayor's concerns, Sarnia Mayor Mike Bradley feels their concerns are falling on deaf ears.
And it's very discouraging as we head into the July 1st, 4th weekend and then into the holiday weekends this summer, that we have a direct barrier that will keep Americans from coming over here as tourists. They're not going to go through that whole process just to make a trip to Canada.
Beth Potter of the Tourism Association isn't totally against the app, but says there needs to be more discussion between the two countries in how to effectively move people across the border. Those in the tourism sector are hoping the federal government can at least ease some restrictions just ahead of this weekend's beginning of the heavy tourist season. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
The inquest into the death of Delilah Blair continues this week in Windsor. She died by suicide while she was an inmate at the local jail. The proceedings are revealing some gaps that exist at the Southwest Detention Center. And this afternoon, a high-ranking government healthcare official addressed some of what went wrong when Blair died. The CBC's Jason Vio joins us live in studio now with more. Jason, what more do we know?
Well, let's start with the fact that jail staff did not bring a defibrillator when Delilah Blair was found unresponsive on May 21st, 2017 in her cell. Linda Olgavy testified today and responded to questions about that. She's the Assistant Director of Corporate Healthcare Services with the Ministry of the Solicitor General, which oversees provincial jails. Now, as a nurse as well, she says she understands time is of the essence when someone is found without vital signs, like in Delilah Blair's case, and she admits an AED is required when doing resuscitation and should be present if an inmate is found unresponsive. We know through security camera footage that an AED did not arrive on scene until paramedics got there 12 minutes after Blair was found. The jury also heard a jail nurse asked someone at the time to go get a nearby AED, but none of the several correctional officers there did, and it's unclear why. Here's what Olgavy said about this. There needs to be a process in place to ensure that an AED is brought to the scene. She said having this process in place is critically important. Olgavy also testified that a process isn't yet in place 5 years after Blair had died. She says upper management is working with the Southwest Detention Center to ensure that process is developed.
Jason, what else did she shed light on in terms of what could be improved at the jail?
Well, the other area she was asked quite a bit about was the female mental health unit, and that's where Delilah Blair was staying at the time. Earlier in the inquest, an expert called the conditions appalling and not a therapeutic environment you'd expect. And as I mentioned, this is where Delilah Blair was staying when she died by suicide inside of her locked cell. There's no natural light, as you can see, in the common area, and no direct access to recreational activities, unlike the men's mental health unit at the jail. As a corporate healthcare director, Linda Olgavy admits she wasn't consulted about the design of the female mental health unit, but says she should have been. The facility opened in 2014, so it's relatively new. She was asked about previous testimony where witnesses and staff didn't feel the female mental health unit was therapeutic. Here was her response to that. I think if they feel it's not designed well and does not promote mental health, I think it would be wise to explore alternatives. Now, what those alternatives would be, since the infrastructure is already in place, that's unclear. We also know the female mental health unit was in 2017 and still is today under indirect supervision. So 5 years ago, that meant officers would do checks on the female inmates there twice every hour. By comparison, the male mental health unit has been under direct supervision, so jail guards are in the unit at all times. Olgavy says direct supervision is an excellent model and should be used whenever possible. She also points to the female mental health unit at the Toronto South Detention Centre. There, the female mental health unit has nurses working directly in the unit and a nurse station within the unit, and she says healthcare workers spend a significant amount of time with the inmates there. But again, it's unclear why that isn't happening for women in the mental health unit at the jail here in Windsor. Now, tomorrow we're expecting closing submissions, and then the jury will begin to deliberate. They are being asked to come up with recommendations to help prevent similar deaths in the future.
Thanks for that, Jason. CBC's Jason Vio live in studio tonight. A Michigan doctor who runs 3 clinics in Metro Detroit doesn't think Windsor is ready to handle a potential surge of patients seeking abortion services. Northland Family Planning Centers provide about 9,000 abortions each year. Abortion remains legal in the state because of an injunction against a state law, but that could change.
My name is Renee Chillian, and I'm the founder and CEO of Northland Family Planning Centers. There are 3 clinics in the Detroit metropolitan area. Patients' rides wait in the car. We have bulletproof glass. I talked to our doctors, and we had to set up a meeting for this morning to work out a short-term and a longer-term plan to be able to try to accommodate patients from Ohio. But we also know Indiana will go. I don't know where patients from Kentucky are going to go. We haven't had a chance to think about that. But it makes me sick to think that half of the United States will be an abortion desert. And I don't know how half of the United States will take care of the whole country. With the surge of Ohio patients, we definitely need to up our medical supplies, everything that we can get, and anything that's on back order or on short supply. Would you please let me know so we can make a plan on what we have to do? Well, so I know a lot of Canadian providers. They belong to the National Abortion Federation, and we see them at our meetings. I knew Dr. Henry Morgentaler, so I've followed, Canadian abortion rights from the very beginning. If they can handle American patients and patients can get to them, I'm grateful to them for their compassion and their understanding and their willingness to help those pregnant people who can get to Canada and get to a clinic. I mean, someone from Detroit's not going to Vancouver. And I don't know if Windsor, or actually, I don't believe the hospital systems where abortions are done in Canada are going to be able to handle a surge. I think that women will eventually resort to self-abortion. I mean, some women will have babies, that's true. But what it will do to their families are the things we hear about. Like, the reason half of our patients choose abortion is to take care of the children they already have, and how this upsets their family balance, what they can afford in terms of groceries and gas money. We don't know how that effect will be. But as states ban even access to abortion pills, I think about those women who maybe will be able to travel or find some drug that they try and then have a problem, and they will be scared to go to an emergency room for fear of prosecution. And I wonder how many of them will die at home from complications or self-induced methods. I can't believe that our government has turned their back on us. I heard a woman on the news say, "My country doesn't love me." And it felt so true. I mean, I'm never going to need another abortion. I'm 71 years old. My daughters are between 35 and 40. They probably won't need another one, but I have granddaughters. And I'm fighting this fight for, not just for them, because I know where to get an abortion for them, but for everyone that someone else loves who may need an abortion. I've been doing this for almost 50 years. This is my life's work. And I hate to think that I will die and still the United States will not have abortion services in every single state.
Windsor Regional Hospital is not commenting on this situation or on what supports might be available for Americans. We also asked the Ontario Ministry of Health for comment. They did not answer our questions, but we were told the ministry has no new information at this time, and they will keep us appraised of any new developments. To provincial news now. The Ontario government is raising the allowable rent increase across the province to 2.5%. The provincial rent increase guideline is the highest a landlord can increase most tenants' rents without the approval of the Landlord and Tenant Board. In 2022, the rent increase was 1.2%. Next year's rent increase guideline is capped at 2.5. The new guideline is lower than the inflation rate in the country, which has seen the largest jump in 31 years. Premier Doug Ford unveiled his new team of 43 parliamentary assistants today, and they include 3 local MPPs. Windsor-Tecumseh MPP Andrew Dowie has been named parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. Essex MPP Anthony Liardi will be parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Mines, and Leamington MPP Trevor Jones will be parliamentary assistant to the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. The provincial NDP, meanwhile, has picked a longtime Toronto MPP to be their interim leader. Peter Tabbins wasting no time jumping into the role today, promising to provide a strong opposition to the Ford government.
We're defenders for people in this province who are facing the highest rates of inflation we've seen in a generation. People are dealing with a housing crisis. There will be no free pass for the Ford government. We'll be fighting to stop the cuts that we are sure will be coming from him. We'll fight any and all of Ford's efforts to privatize education, healthcare, and social services.
Tabbins is the NDP MPP for Toronto Danforth. He's previously served as the party's energy and environment critic. Tabbins will serve as leader of the official opposition until the NDP holds a leadership race. Andrea Horvath announced her resignation as NDP leader on election night. In other news, R&B singer R. Kelly has been sentenced to 30 years in prison for sex trafficking and racketeering.
I believe I can fly.
Best known for his hit, I Believe I Can Fly, Kelly was convicted last fall of sex crimes dating back to the mid-1990s. The singer used his superstardom to subject young fans, some who were just children, to systematic sexual abuse, some of whom gave powerful victim impact statements in court. The 55-year-old Kelly didn't speak at his sentencing, where he also was ordered to pay a $100,000 fine. Rising grocery bills has some people turning to growing their own food to help lower costs and CO2 emissions and keep healthy vegetables on the table. But as the CBC's Evan Dyer reports, home gardeners are questioning the tax they have to pay on their seeds and seedlings.
Nicola Moore of Hamilton says it was the pandemic that got her started.
I wasn't sure how I was going to feed my family breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day, and so I thought, how can I help my family? And that began my love for gardening.
She grows food mostly from seeds and a bit from seedlings, and in both cases, she pays sales tax.
You can see the seeds are starting to mature in the seed pod here.
Catherine Wallenberg set up her farm to produce seeds she sells to home growers.
And I was quite surprised actually to find out that it was a taxable product. To me, it just seems to say that it's considered a hobby to grow food because the same produce, the same lettuce, once grown out, would not be taxed.
In fact, none of the fruit and vegetables sold in supermarkets pay any sales tax, even when they come from halfway around the world.
It's a shame that it's not incentivized to be growing and eating more local, and there isn't really more local than straight from your garden.
The government's carbon tax regime encourages people to shrink their carbon footprint, but sales taxes on food do the opposite.
There's no carbon footprint when I am going over to my garden and putting the seeds in. Imagine a truck or trucks or fleets driving from California over to Ontario.
Food prices are rising fast with inflation, and supply chain delays have also affected freshness, a phenomenon known as shelflation. For more, that's just another reason to grow for herself.
I feel like I have a great green thumb now. It's been 2 years of steady learning, gardening, researching.
The federal government has dropped some other sales taxes to encourage people to do certain things, most recently on COVID masks. But when we asked the Department of Finance if they were looking at changing this, they told us there are no plans in the works. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Farrelton, Quebec.
A Canada Day tradition is set to hit the road again this year. The annual Canadian Coasters cross-country road trip rolls out of St. John's for the 55th time this weekend. 55 classic cars will take 55 days to make the coast-to-coast trip to Victoria. And some of the participants took some time to show off their rides before departure.
We're here with the Canadian Coasters. There's about 100 people that are going to travel in classic cars from all the way from St. John's out to Victoria. And they'll be kicking that off on July 2nd.
The Coasters Tour started in 1967. I've been on the tour, this is my third time. I started in 2010, when I went in 2017, and now again in 2022. We get to meet the real people of Canada, the small town people, and it's just such a wonderful experience.
Okay, we have here a 1954 Cadillac. It's fully loaded with factory air conditioning and power windows, power steering, power brakes, power seats. It's got everything that they had back then. We've had it for 30 years now. Driving down the highway, people are pulling up alongside, taking pictures while they're driving. It's so silly. And to gas up the car takes a while too, because you put the gas in, and then people are talking, and you got to stop and talk to them all the time. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, we got a little piece of Newfoundland history here. So this was a Land Rover that was owned by the government of Newfoundland and was assigned to Joey Smallwood. Now, he took that across the island. He was probably the first four-wheel vehicle to take across the island, and it was pretty rough in 1958. He visited the whole island, and then he was instrumental in the drive for 65 when they wanted to get this whole highway finished and paved as part of joining Canada.
It's kind of a reunion of people here with some of us have been on a tour a few times, and then now we're meeting a whole bunch of new ones. I think we got about 25 new ones, so it's just a real good friendship we need to develop.
I love that live look outside there. We did have some showers today, but we'll have just a few clouds overnight. And then tomorrow, we do have another heat warning. It will continue until Friday with highs reaching 33 degrees. Kim McDonald will be here after the break with more. Stay with us. Kim McDonald joins us now for a look at our weather forecast. Kim, we did have a bit of a downpour earlier on in the day, but looks like it's clearing up, and tomorrow's shaping up to look like a sunny, beautiful, hot day.
Yeah, a little something for everybody, right? If you needed the rain, we had it. This is the radar from earlier this morning, and yes, it just the tail end of it, swiping the southwest, including Chatham and Windsor, but sunshine on the way. So for the overnight temperatures on the mild side, we're looking at 16 for Windsor, 19 in Leamington, 16 in Chatham, clear skies ahead, and that's going to make way for a sunny day. Sunny start to the day as well, 20 degrees for the morning, 20 in Chatham, Windsor, 21 in Leamington. And if it's 20 degrees in the morning, you know it's going to be a hot day. There goes the cold front. Here comes the ridge of high pressure. We like a big blue high coming in, and that means sunny skies. However, things are going to be changing in the long range. I'll get to that in just a moment. But these are your daytime highs. Sunshine everywhere you look. The UV will be high. Slap on the sunscreen. I know, I'm everybody's mom. 33 will feel like 36 through the afternoon. And then we get into all the ingredients for the active weather potential for Friday. So here's a look at the Capes of the available energy. Are we going to see a thunderstorm? Well, there's a chance, and especially around that 5 or 6 o'clock hour on Friday. I know it's Canada Day. There's all our humidity moving in. So we've got the ingredients. We've got some energy, we've got some moisture, and we have a trigger for the storms, and that would be the next cold front that's moving in. So that cold front could spark off a couple of thunderstorms, again, just around that dinner hour, but it looks like it clears out pretty quickly in time for the evening. So if you're taking part in one of those 5K runs in the morning, or if you're heading to the fireworks in the evening, it looks like you'll be a-okay. Temperature-wise, though, it's going to be hot. We're still looking at daytime highs around 31. It will feel like 35, and yes, we do have thunderstorms in the icon. And the 7-day forecast looks like this. So once that cold front goes through, we're in for some clearer conditions Saturday and Sunday. Looking good if you like it hot, but no real thunderstorms in the forecast then.
Sounds good. Thanks for that, Kim.
You're welcome.
And when we come back, you don't win friends with salad. If you know what show that's from, our next story is for you. Stay with us. Okay, we have some TV trivia for you. What is the longest running American sitcom? If you answered The Simpsons, then CBC's Zach Gowdy has a story that might have you reaching for a beer.
Are you guys Simpsons super fans?
I grew up watching it with my family every Sunday night.
I'll just have a cup of coffee.
There it is.
Hi, my name is Chris Conway. I'm the general manager and co-founder of Landwash Brewery.
Hi, my name is Christina Cody. I'm brewmaster and co-founder of Landwash Brewery.
We collaborated with Mallard Cottage, Chinched Bistro, and Newfoundland Sausage Company to make these really super summer-friendly barbecue beer 8-packs. And because it's a big initiative, our production team decided to have a little fun with the date coder and put Simpsons quotes hidden on the bottom of the cans next to the date codes. So we date code our beer because for beer, it's very important to have it fresh. So we wanted to just make a little playful, fun way of being like, okay, check your date codes, find some nice fresh beer.
Okay, it's Simpsons trivia time. Let's see if I can remember which episodes these canned quotes come from. Hit me.
All right. My bratwurst has a first name. It's Fritz.
Rainier Wolfcastle is remembering his childhood.
My bratwurst has a first name. It's Fritz.
I see you played Knifey Spoony before.
It's from The Simpsons Go Down Under when Bart makes prank phone calls to Australia, has to go to Australia to apologize.
You call that a knife? This is a knife.
You don't win friends with salad.
From the classic Lisa a Vegetarian, it's from the barbecue episode.
You don't win friends with salad. You don't win friends with salad.
And the last one, it's still good, it's still good.
From the pig flying through the air, one of the highlights of the Lisa's Vegetarian, the barbecue episode. Who hasn't said that in their own life?
Exactly.
It's still good, it's still good.
Anytime anything lands on the floor.
It's just a little slimy. It's still good, it's still good.
Working on the canning line can be a long day, and so putting in these little jokes to kind of poke fun at everything just makes everybody a little bit happier after an 8-hour shift of canning beer.
That is it for CBC Windsor News. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.